would like to thank Sander van Hoorn for joining us as a former EU correspondent all the way from Amsterdam and sharing that insight. Thank you very much. Now we move on to Asia. China has commissioned its third aircraft carrier in the Fujian in a major step to modernize its naval fleet. The carrier has reportedly entered service this week at a naval port in China's southern province of Hainan. The Fujian is equipped with an electromagnetic aircraft launch system, allowing jets to carry larger payloads and more fuel. This technology previously only existed on the USS Gerald R. Ford, which is an elite aircraft carrier of the U.S. Navy. With the addition of the Fujian, China's Navy now includes 3 active carriers, joining the Liaoning and the Shandong as the country expands its presence in the Pacific. The carrier has underwent sea trials before entering active service. Looking at the geopolitical front, the Fujian has already sailed through the sensitive Taiwan Strait and the South China Sea for research and training missions. Its movements were last detected near the disputed Senkaku Islands with Japan. As per defense experts, the Fujian's launch surely reflects China's ambitions to project maritime power regionally, particularly around the South China Sea and Taiwan. Now for this discussion, we welcome Andrew K.P. Long. He's a China strategist, joins us live from Hong Kong. Thank you very much, Andrew, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, looking at this, how significant is this Fujian, knowing that it's the only naval power that can be competed or be in competition with the USS or US one? And how does this commissioning of Fujian alter the balance of naval power in the Indo-Pacific and with US?
Well, commensurate with China's status as the second largest economy in the world and its trading and other geopolitical interests across the group, China needs to, of course, to develop its blue water navy. But the trajectory only began not too long ago, starting with the first aircraft carrier, which was converted from an old Russian model, disguised as a kind of business ship and brought back to China for study and then conversion. It was a very old aircraft with a kind of ski jump runway, which was no longer used decades ago by the United States. But then, since then, China has built now the second, which still used the ski jump model, but now the Fujian is the first aircraft with a platform, the flat platform, and using an advanced launching system, which is called the electromagnetic catapult system, which is being used by the most advanced aircraft carrier, the Gerald Ford in the United States. And what is more, the electromagnetic catapult system on the Fujian is used to launch China's latest 5th generation fighters, the latest 5th generation supersonic and stealth fighters. This is the first, not yet tried even on the Ford. But however, in comparison with the United States, 11 aircraft carrier groups, China still is a pygmy. I mean, China, because all the 11 aircraft carrier battle groups of the United States are all nuclear powered. And China has not yet built any nuclear powered aircraft carrier, including the Fujian. I think that China is starting to build one, but it's not yet completed. And then this, of course, is only the third aircraft carrier, and then of course is complemented with its battle groups. But compared with the United States 11 battle groups, so it's still miles behind. China is slated to build about 6 aircraft carrier in total, and to build its first nuclear power aircraft carrier at the moment, but it's not yet completed. So I think that China's still miles away, but compared with what China's aircraft carrier fleet, say a couple of years or couple of maybe decades ago, of course, it's a vast improvement, and that improvement is necessary to protect China's sea lane of communication and all the conflicts over the South China Sea in China's near abroad.
Right. Thank you for giving us that insight. And also, looking at all the developments that you have mentioned and shared with us, how do you think, to what extent does this China's naval expansion represent defensive modernization versus an assertion of global military ambition?
Say, as a large country with so many territorial disputes along its borders, and also its sea lane of communication, which supports its lifeblood of trade and import of materials, China needs to have a credible naval force, especially in the Asia Pacific. As I said, it's still miles behind the United States 11 aircraft carrier groups, and that, of course, is seen to be threatening China's national security or economic security, because the South China Sea is, as I said, is a very important sea lane of communication for China's economic lifeblood. So I think that China will continue to develop its naval forces in defense of its own interests, especially along South China Sea, and in the light of putting a coercive deterrence force against any attempts of Taiwan to seek formal independence.
And then how should neighboring states like Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong respond to this China's growing military presence in contested waters like South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait without escalating the situation or tension?
I think that you should avoid. I think you make a mistake in mentioning Hong Kong. I mean,
Right.
Hong Kong is part of China, okay? So Hong Kong is a special military region. So Hong Kong is not, leave Hong Kong out of it. Hong Kong, of course, is part of the motherland. But as far as China's neighbors are concerned, it's, of course, is seeing a kind of threat because they, along with China, have their own territorial claims and have their own military considerations along the South China Sea. And as far as Japan is concerned, of course, it's constrained by its constitution, which was forced upon it after Japan's defeat after the Second World War. And now that there are political forces in Japan trying to revise the constitution so that Japan can become a normal country, and with developing its naval projection forces. I think that the Korea, of course, is more concerned about the North Korea and the security of the Korean Peninsula, because basically the aircraft carrier is a force projection, but also it's a force protection area. So I think that, of course, China's continuing advances of its naval forces, aircraft carrier, even though it's for self-defense, as I outlined, is sealing the communication, but of course it will send ripples along its border with its neighboring countries.
Yes, indeed. With that, I would like to thank Andrew K.P. Long for joining us as a China strategist all the way from Hong Kong and sharing that insight. Now we stay in the region. The Philippines is on high alert as it braces for another powerful storm, Typhoon Phang Vong. Just days after being hit by Typhoon Kalmaigi, the weather radar showed Phang Vong forming off of the east coast of the island nation. The storm is expected to intensify into a super typhoon before making a landfall in the northern Philippines by November 9th or on November 10th early in the morning. The country's Civil Aviation Authority has already placed all area centers and airports under alert as Phang Phong approaches. Authorities continue to monitor the situation closely as they prepare for the impact of yet another devastating storm. Now we move on to Africa. Tanzanian rights groups have condemned widespread reports of reprisal, killings and mass arrests following last week's presidential election, which the opposition has denounced as sham. President Samia Suluhu Hassan was declared the winner with 98% of the vote in a poll from which most opposition parties were barred. The Legal and Human Rights Center, along with 6 other NGOs, have said security forces used excessive force against unarmed protesters, including killings inside people's homes. Activists say hundreds, possibly thousands, were killed during the unrest, with many more detained without bail. A 6-day internet shutdown has also obstructed the flow of verified information. Election observers from the African Union and other groups have criticized the vote as a compromised, saying Tanzanians were denied the ability to freely express their democratic will. That's all we have time for. Keep watching